So if you clicked on this video right now, my guess is that you are sitting here wondering whether or not you should take your dismissive avoidant attachment style partner back. And I'm going to tell you basically the green flags, but most importantly, the red flags. And the four things that if you see a dismissive avoidant doing these things, you want to make sure you are not getting back into a relationship with them. Because what's honestly going to happen is if you see these four behaviors, there is an extremely high chance that you get back into the relationship with them. Maybe you have a little bit of a honeymoon phase all over again and you're happy and things are going well for just a couple months until literally like a boomerang, things snap back into the way that they originally were and you go through the heartbreak all over again. And I don't want that for you. So in today's video, we are going to cover, do not take a dismissive avoidant back if they're doing these four things. And then we'll talk about some green flags for when to know if maybe this is the right relationship dynamic to invest in. And most importantly, we're going to talk about how to handle this situation if you are an anxious attachment style and if you are a fearful avoidant attachment style. So we'll cover it per attachment style at the end. So let's dive in here. Here's the thing, okay? If you take somebody back, but their patterns of behavior have not changed and you haven't seen, like you see these same four things repeating, or you haven't seen some of these green flags we're talking about, you are literally just going back into the relationship the way that it was when it broke, okay? And you might have this initial honeymoon phase, but feelings aren't enough to turn an entire relationship dynamic around if it wasn't working the first time. You need it with, feelings along with healthy actual behaviors, transformation, changes, signs of growth, okay? So here are the four things you really want to watch out for. Number one, you want to make sure that if somebody has not acknowledged their side of the breakup, like been accountable for like what happened from their side and their behaviors that weren't healthy, you can't take them back, okay? Because if there's no acknowledgement of what went wrong from each person's side, then there's no way to make it better and prevent those things from happening again. So that is your first really important thing to look out for. Number two, if somebody you're in a relationship dynamic with or kicking things back off with is in a position where they are not able to empathize with you, okay? So notice your feelings, notice what hurt you, show up for these things. Just acknowledge like, hey, I see that this hurt you, or just be mindful of your feelings more frequently, then again, it's just not a healthy sign that things are going to improve in a relationship, okay? So really important to pay attention to. Number three, you don't want to reinvest in a relationship dynamic with a dismissive avoidant if they are not, and this one's going to surprise you, communicating their needs. Why is this? Because historically and like notoriously, dismissive avoidants get into relationships. They don't know their needs because they're too busy kind of ignoring their own feelings and needs on a regular basis. They're good at knowing their needs for like comfort and safety. Like they're good at knowing the needs they have that are basically survival oriented, but their actual relationship needs and what lights them up and what makes them feel fulfilled in a relationship, they usually really struggle to understand. And as long as you are a person who doesn't know what you need, you're going to get into a relationship based on attraction and feelings. But then as the attraction starts to fade, because as human beings, we do adapt over time. When that's not at a peak all-time high and those neurochemicals of attraction and oxytocin and phenylethylamine and all these neurochemicals that make us feel excited and connected, when those things start to fade off after the honeymoon stage ends, then what you're going to see is if this person doesn't know how to convey their needs to their partner, they're expecting you to mind read. And if they don't know what they need and you don't know what they need, they're not going to have their needs met because nobody's supposed to be a perfect mind reader. And then they're going to suddenly pull away and it's going to feel like the rug got pulled out from underneath you. So literally for a dismissive avoidant to stay in a long-term relationship, they need to know how to communicate their needs. I very much recommend in relationship dynamics that you have needs discussions. Hey, let's sit down, let's talk about our needs, what needs are met in a relationship, what aren't. If you want some help and support with this, knowing your feelings and needs is something that will literally get the ball rolling. And we have a fully free needs course. You actually get to keep it for life. Use the link in the description box below. We're just doing this for a portion of the month, like a very small period of the month. Go click on that needs link. And when you join the 7-day free trial, you actually get to keep the needs course for life. And if you cancel before day 7, you'll still get the free course for life. And it's all about noticing your needs and what they are and like how to reconnect to yourself. So if the link is still here, we probably still have the promotion going on. Don't be afraid to click down below and check it out. But ideally, you're actually able to identify what are your needs in a relationship and what are theirs and have discussions about these things. It's a huge staple in a healthy long-term relationship that makes it last, okay? So if they don't know their needs, then you do not want to be in this particular dynamic, okay? If they're doing this like avoidance of needs, things like that, so important to pay attention to if they have no idea what's going on. Number 4, probably the most important one, if the dismissive avoidant is still avoiding conflict, not talking things out, if there's an issue, they're not able to like sit down and communicate and have a conversation, then you're never going to resolve conflict. And honestly, anybody who can't get over conflict in a relationship, you have one of 2 outcomes. Outcome number 1, you end up in a relationship dynamic where you just have all of this resentment building up, because resentment builds up when we never resolve conflict. Or number 2, you end up in a relationship dynamic where literally you come together and everything's great and then you break apart. And that's it. Because if you can't resolve conflict, one of those conflicts will break a relationship, okay? You can't just weather those storms forever without either, maybe a long-term relationship where you're really unhappy, or the relationship just breaks apart, okay? So it is extremely important to get good at that. Now, what do you do if you're an anxious attachment style, and what if you're a fearful avoidant? Well, number 1, you vet for these 4 things. And if you're an anxious attachment style, one of the biggest things you need to be able to focus on is like, what do you need in a relationship? Okay. The more you are able to go into this like reconnection dynamic, like if there's some green flags, let's say they're doing all of the opposite of those 4 things. They're acknowledging, how you felt about things. They're able to empathize with your point of view. They're able to talk through conflict. They're really showing up on a regular basis to talk about their needs and invest in their emotional literacy. Okay, so they've got these 4 things. They're green flags. Maybe you're seeing other green flags, like they're setting the intention. They're actually initiating plans. They're making an effort. They're consistent. They're following through. Those are other really good green flags to look out for. Well, what ends up happening if you're an anxious attachment style? You want to know going in what you need to see and have a conversation about it, okay? So frequently in anxious attachment style and dismissive avoidant dynamic, exactly what you need to heal the relationship just so happens to be the exact thing you need to heal within yourself, okay? This is for all attachment style pairings, honestly. Fearful avoidant too, and we'll come to fearful avoidant in just a minute. But as an anxious attachment style, you actually need to learn your needs and how to meet your needs yourself and self-soothe a little bit. It allows you to then hold space for your dismissive avoidant partner a little bit better and not feel so dysregulated when they pull away, because one of the big ways that we self-soothe is by staying in our frame of reference, knowing what we're feeling and needing, and showing up for ourselves. And if we can build that habit out over time, it actually allows us to self-soothe. Now, it doesn't feel great at first, okay? I give the analogy a lot of times, like if you start driving a car, for your very first time, you might be excited to drive a car, but it's really stressful and overwhelming at the beginning. You have to like keep track of so many things: your side mirrors, your rear view mirrors, turn on your signal, make sure that you're checking your blind spots, steering the wheels, staying between the lines. I mean, there's a million things to track. But then over time, once you through rinse and repeat, repetition and emotion actually fires and wires neural pathways, and the concept of driving a car gets habituated, gets conditioned into your subconscious mind, and it feels like it's second nature. Then you're listening to podcasts while you're driving. Then you're doing something else while you're driving. So what you need to be able to do is, it's going to feel mechanical at first to know your needs, show up for them. But after about 21 days of doing it really consistently, like knowing your needs, writing them out, meeting at least one need for yourself per day, it's going to start getting habituated in, and you're not going to feel so scared of losing other people. You'll still want to invest in your relationships with other people, of course, but in a more secure way, the way a securely attached person does, where they're not coming from this complete place of lack because they have no other way of self-sourcing their needs. Instead, they are self-sourcing their needs, and they're appreciating when people meet their needs too. So it's like you go through life feeling this sense of peacefulness around things. Like, oh, I don't have to completely be so stressed out about not being able to access my needs, okay? So that's a really big deal. If you're anxious, to start meeting your own needs. If you are a fearful avoidant, one of the best things you're going to do if you're considering getting back together with an ex is to tell the dismissive avoidant attachment style what triggered you, okay, and what you need instead. And a lot of times what's triggering you if you're a fearful avoidant with a DA is you're triggered because you can't tell if they really care, because you're pouring into the relationship. Then you're not seeing the same amount of effort from their end. And usually it's because you're kind of operating by covert contracts. Really what that means is that you're often like, let me do 5 things for this person so that then I can ask for 1 thing back. And that's a path to resentment, okay? So what you want to be able to do as a fearful avoidant is sit down and go, okay, here's what I actually need. I'm going to show up and communicate what I actually need to this person, just like an anxious attachment style, but you need to also tell the person what triggers you and what you need instead. So if they are not giving enough transparency around things, they cancel plans at the last minute and don't make plans again, or don't tell you why they cancel at the last minute, and it leaves you feeling like so much uncertainty and confusion, Tell them, hey, if you cancel something, just let me know why. Just include me in what's going on. And then let me know when we can make plans next so that you're being able to get around these triggers in advance. Also, if you feel like you can't tell if they care, tell them what you need that makes you feel cared for and ask them to see these needs through, to like make sure you see your needs through, really, and ask them to show up for these things so that there's effort in a relationship. Now, some of you guys are going to be like, oh, you should never have to tell somebody your needs. If they care about you, they'll know. That is the biggest amount of BS ever, okay? People are not mind readers. Everybody has so much different conditioning, so many layers of different conditioning from their own childhood and upbringing about how they expect relationships to look, what's supposed to be taking place. And honestly, what ends up happening is the more conditioning you have, one person's like, oh, if I care about somebody, I give them space. Dismissive avoidants are often like, if I care about somebody, I give them the freedom to do their own thing. I accept them as they are. Fearful avoidants are like, I pour into them, I show up for them, I check in, I'm supportive. You have different ideas, okay? So every secure partner, what they do exceptionally well is they're good at closing those gaps, okay? So there's no mind reading. They talk about their needs. They see their needs through. If somebody drops off, they're like, hey, remember, this is something really important to me. Now, if somebody never meets your needs after you've communicated them, never tries, then you're in the wrong relationship. But if you're expecting somebody to mind read, that's honestly a problem that falls back on the person who's expecting everybody in their lives to mind read. And I was there once as a fearful avoidant, so I totally get it. But it's also one of the biggest ways that you'll keep yourself alone and isolated, because if you're hiding all your needs and you're putting all your walls up, you're never going to feel like you get loved as you actually need to be loved. Okay, that is it for today. I hope this makes sense. Thank you for watching and stopping by. Let me know any questions you have in the comments below. Also, make sure you check out that free course all about attachment styles and intimacy, fully for free for life. And if you enjoy this channel, please like, share, and subscribe. I put daily videos out here, and you probably don't want to miss any of the cool little giveaways that we run on a regular basis. Thanks for watching.